Hunter Biden agrees to testify in front of House Oversight about his father's alleged involvement in his shady business dealings. Could this be the moment he throws old Pop under the bus? Well, the show starts now. Christmas has come early for House Republicans and, quite frankly, all of us who still give a damn about the integrity of the Oval Office. Hunter Biden, yes, the Hunter Biden, will comply with a subpoena issued by House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer to testify about those overseas business dealings and, more importantly, his father's alleged involvement. And here's the kicker. Hunter wants the testimony to be public. That's right. Hunter wants it to be public. I did not have that one on my bingo card. House Oversight leaders insist that his first deposition follows the precedent of being closed door, but Comer agreed that Hunter should at some point testify publicly. Hunter is a confident man, I will give him that, but I wonder if the heat gets high enough, would Hunter sell out the big guy, the brand, to save his own hide? Let's bring in my friend and host of the David J. Harris Jr. show, David Harris Jr. David, it's great to have you. I want to talk about this Hunter testimony and the fact that he wants it to be public. Is he just overly confident here? Is this part of the narcissism talking? Or what do you think his strategy is?
You know, I'd like to believe that he was going to out the big guy, but I think he understands the Clinton body count is real. And I think Joe is par for the course for Hillary. So I think he's just that cocky. I mean, look, he's gotten away with everything. He got away with throwing away a gun behind a school in a dumpster. Did not. He lied on the license to get that firearm about his felonies. He's gotten caught smoking crack. He's gotten caught with all the things that have to do with the prostitutes, all the money. He slept with his brother's ex-wife. I mean, what has this guy not gotten away with? He's gotten away with so much that I think that he thinks that this is going to be his 5 minutes of fame in the spotlight where he gets to shine like he thought he shined on Dateline when he was talking about sniffing around the carpet looking for Parmesan cheese or looking for crack and thinking it was Parmesan cheese. He's gotten away with all of it. So this is the Democrats' darling son that if this was any of Trump's kids would have been crucified in the media, but he gets away with it. So I think that he just thinks this is going to be his opportunity to be a shining star, get up there and lie like the rug that he is, and just have fun. It's a mockery is what it is.
Yeah, I agree with you to some extent here, but the fact that he would want to testify publicly when there's so much evidence, I think that's the thing. If this were just not evidence-based and it was just, they had a few things here and there. I mean, they literally have smoking gun after smoking gun after smoking gun. The place is going up in flames with all of the smoke that we have about these overseas business dealings and the WhatsApp message. I'm here with my father, the threats and the shakedowns for money. So as much as I would agree that maybe he's using this for fame and maybe to move some more of his ugly paintings, I also wonder why he would want to expose him and his father to that. But I also wonder if the Democrats are secretly salivating over this. Like maybe this is their opportunity to get rid of Joe Biden if they've got Hunter testifying and it's really bad and it's not looking so good. Maybe this is their opportunity to pivot away from Joe so they don't have to run somebody who's got a 27% approval rating in 2024. Do you think that could possibly be part of this?
It could be, Tommy. You know what? There's no putting anything past these people. What Hunter, again, what he understands that he's up against. I think you're right. I think that he's got to know, he's got to make deals somewhere. He's got to do something to try to save his hide, because if there's any ounce of justice whatsoever left in the judicial system, period, he'd be going to jail forever. It's treason what he's been, what he's done. And, so maybe he feels like his last actual get out of jail card isn't going to come from the Democrats. I don't know. It's so upside down. I'll tell you one thing, though. I will be watching and I will have my popcorn because it's going to be something to watch either way it shakes down.
I got to tell you, I'm a little conflicted because as much as I want to get to the bottom of these overseas business dealings and, of course, Joe Biden's involvement in it, as much as I'd like to see justice here, it feels like the way to go against Joe probably isn't this route because the American public doesn't seem to care. I think maybe the better thing to do to get rid of Joe, or at least to beat Joe in 2024, if he is indeed the nominee, is to talk about two things: how bad everything is with Joe in charge, and two, the fact that he is physically and mentally failing. But I think that the White House is trying to run a new PR campaign here. They tried Bidenomics. That didn't really work. But now, instead of just having a catchy slogan for the dumpster fire they've created, they're actually trying to convince American people that things are actually great despite our own eyes. Let's listen to Joe talk about Thanksgiving and how it was so cheap for all of us little people.
In fact, as a share of earnings this Thanksgiving, dinner was the fourth cheapest ever on record. I want you all to know that. I look at all the press, look at that. Press is particularly excited about that, I can see.
Are you excited about it, David? Was your Thanksgiving dinner the fourth cheapest you've ever had? Mine certainly wasn't.
No, it wasn't. Where are the fact checkers at? I know you and I both, for years, anything out of the slightest shadow of an inkling of something that's not 100% plus 10 right, there's a fact check. We're demonetized. We're slapped down. Our reach is gone. This is the president of the United States lying his butt off to the American people. Where are they at? And why isn't the mainstream media holding them accountable? It's asinine to me. I've seen more families and heard of more families struggling this holiday season than I have in a very, very long time. Every time I go through the checkout line, I see these bags that are prepackaged for families in the area, and I buy a bunch of them. It's like I gotta do more and do something. I'm blessed. I'm fortunate. But the fact that so many people all around the country are hurting so bad, and Joe has the audacity to get up there and lie like that to the American people, it really burns me up. It's disgusting. It's distasteful, and it's just flat out evil, in my opinion. It's just the father of lies is Satan, and you're watching one of his sons talk to the American people.
And all the Biden surrogates, the few that they have left, are still going on every mainstream media network, including our own Fox News, telling people, you think it's bad, but it's not actually bad. And to me, that's so condescending and insulting to tell average Americans, oh, actually, the plight that you're feeling, the struggle you're feeling every time you fill up your gas tank, every time you go to buy groceries, if you're trying to make a mortgage payment, pay for anything in this country, it's actually not as bad as you think it is, when they can see and they can understand for themselves how bad it is. I wonder, though, especially now when we've got an estimated $451 billion we're going to have to shell out for illegal immigrants, do you think it's going to change votes in 2024? I would hope that it would, but I don't want to be pessimistic. I just feel like people aren't making the connection, and they're still going to vote Democrat, even in these areas where they seem hopping mad about the illegals and the inflation and the Bidenomics. I don't know if it's enough to move the dial.
Well, I think it is, Tommy. I think in one aspect it is. I think I've heard a lot from a lot of people that have said, you know what, I'm waking up, I'm changing my vote. I mean, heck, even one of the leaders of the BLM organization in his area came out and said, we need to vote for Trump. We need to switch sides. We need to wake up from this. A lot of people are absolutely waking up. We're seeing it by more rappers, more entertainers, especially in the Black and brown community, that are not afraid to say what I've been saying. A lot of us have been saying in the Black community for years, that the Democrats want to own your vote, and they want to own you, and they want to own your allegiance, and then they don't want to give you anything in return. The Republican Party, that was founded as the anti-slavery party, the party that Trump decided to champion, and all the positive things that the conservative movement is in the Republican Party, is something that is for all people, and it's for the Black and brown community. So while I'm seeing a lot of Americans waking up, people tweeting about it, talking about it on social media, David J. Harris Jr. is mine, social media. When people see that, when people come and I post something about the country, I see so many comments of people saying, you know what, I woke up. I finally woke up. From, you name the disaster, you name from the Afghanistan withdrawal to the economy, to gas, to foreign policy, to the war in Ukraine, to dumping more and more money to Ukraine. So while I believe people are waking up, Tommy, the other issue is the exact same issue we had in 2020, where we need to make sure that there's not anything outside of legal, legitimate ballots being counted at the ballot box. That is my number one concern, as well as many states like New York's already talking about it, giving driver's licenses to illegals that are going to try to get these illegals that are now in our country the right to vote. And what are they going to vote for? More free stuff.
Yeah, that's my concern as well. I have more concerns, and that is suburban women. So I'm really concerned about Roe v. Wade, the Dobbs decision, the overturn there. Not because it personally concerns me. I think it should lie with the states. I think the states are the perfect answer to this long discussed issue and conflict. I think states should decide. If you live in California, you're probably going to have on-demand abortion. If you live in Tennessee, you're probably not. So I think that's a great place for it to lie. However, the messaging has not reached the average American, has not reached suburban women. And there are a lot of young people and women who are going to vote Democrat simply because of Roe v. Wade overturn. How do Republicans get out of that? I wish I could say, oh, we're the pro-life generation, but that would be a lie, because time and time again, we've been shown, whether it be the midterms or whether these last round of elections in 2023, we've been shown that this Dobbs decision is a death nail for anybody with an R behind their name in many, many states and races. How do we get beyond that?
Well, I think it's exactly what you said. It's the messaging. We need to be better on the messaging. It should be up to the states. And the fact that that Roe's been overturned just means at the federal level, it's not a national mandate to kill babies. Leave it up to the states. And then if you don't like that state, go to another state, whatever. But I think that we need to be better about the messaging. People need to understand it's the head of your state, your governor's responsibility on what he's going to do in the state legislature, of course, on what they're going to present to your governor and what the governor is going to pass. And then it's a state issue, and it takes so much of the pressure off of the national issue, the national race for who's going to become president. That's the only way that we're going to win and beat that narrative is messaging and exposing and expounding on it being a state level issue, and that's where it should be.
I agree with you, but a couple of things that are going to be problematic. We saw it in Kentucky and we saw it in Ohio. Swing states in particular, if we do say, hey, it's up to the states, and then those states are led by Republicans, or they want to be led by Republicans, or they're edging closer to being led by Republicans, and the Republicans that are running say that we are going to have a 5-week ban or whatever, and then they lose those elections, and that's probably going to be down ballot in 2024 because someone's going to go and vote Democrat because they want to protect abortion, so they're probably going to vote Democrat all the way down. I'm concerned about swing states for that reason. I agree it needs to be a states' right issue, but what about these states that would maybe go Republican, but for that issue, they will go Democrat? I'm worried about that.
Yeah, I understand that worry and that concern. And I think that it's just another level of messaging. I really think that when somebody sees the messaging that, like you use live action for an example. I was just in Southern California for their awards ceremony and got to hear from Justin Bieber's mother that shared that she got pregnant early, 17. The father wasn't in the picture. She was pressured by everybody to give up the baby, to have an abortion, basically to kill the baby, to terminate the pregnancy. And she decided to choose life. She decided to give the baby a chance, even though she was young, even though she was still going through problems. She still had her own issues. She decided to give the baby a chance at life. And look at what the blessing Justin Bieber has been to the world. I think when people really understand the messaging behind, one negative thing, there's still such as erroneous message that abortion is just there for rape and incest. That makes up less than 1%. Maybe 1% of all abortions. It's mostly used as birth control. And when two people have sex, an act of procreation, and then they create a life, an answer is not to then go terminate that life. The special spark of life that they've identified that takes place as soon as that sperm enters an egg, that's a miraculous, beautiful, amazing thing. That is a new creation. It has its own DNA. Just because it's not outside of the womb yet doesn't mean it's not a living, breathing creature. It's in there breathing, getting oxygen through the tube from the mother. I think the messaging for people needs to be understand what's at stake when you're saying it's okay to murder babies, because everybody should have a chance at life the same way that we do now that we're outside of the womb. Yeah. So I think it's another level of messaging. And that's the messaging that I've seen live action do when they show what happens in a late term abortion, that people have no idea that babies are literally getting torn apart limb by limb before they get pulled out of the womb. They don't know. They have no idea. But I believe most people are inherently good. They have good hearts, and when they see what's happening and they're forced to actually make a decision on, hey, is this tearing a baby apart okay, in your opinion? Most of them, when they understand and they see the facts, they say no. So I'm a big proponent for messaging and messaging a message that's understanding that it's a baby, that it's a life.
No,
I got two grandbabies now.
Yeah, I agree with you. But
one that's 6 months old and one that's a year and a half. And I couldn't even imagine anybody doing anything to harm either of my two grandchildren. And yet to think about it, hold my grandbaby in my arms when she was just 6 hours old, to think about that some of these states say that 7 hours prior, it would have been okay to go in there and cut that baby up in pieces. It's just so boring. It's so evil.
I think you're right about that, though. We need to focus on outlawing late-term abortions. I think that is something that people can get behind. But what you're talking about, to me, has two parts. You're talking about spreading the message of pro-life to individuals, which I think is important, changing hearts and minds of individuals. But a lot of those individuals, when it comes to voting, whether they want the ability to have an abortion or they want other people to have the ability to have an abortion, it becomes a very different issue. It's like an individual issue. We're talking about faith and we're talking about life, and that's great. But then there's a lot of people that say, hey, we still want this to be available. So that's the hurdle that I think we're going to have to climb, and I'm worried about it. But I want to get to one last thing, because I'm very excited about it tomorrow night. The great red versus blue debate, Newsom and DeSantis tomorrow night. Sean Hannity hosting, of course, on Fox News. What do you think the outcome of that one's going to be? And do you think it's going to help or hurt Newsom or DeSantis?
Well, I think it can only hurt Newsom because he has no standing. He's said some blatantly obvious, erroneous statements, tweeted some erroneous things. That the fact checkers on Twitter, thank God we actually have some real, truthful fact checkers that say, hey, let's hold this individual accountable. He said some horrible things. I think Newsom is horrible for the state. I lived in California when he became governor. One of the first things that he did was fine Californians that did not have health insurance. And then he simultaneously gave health insurance to illegals that were coming in across the border. This guy has been bad news from the get-go. So I think it can only hurt Newsom. I don't know that it's going to help DeSantis that much. His numbers have been falling in the polls. Vivek has been rising in the polls. So I don't know that it's going to do that much to help DeSantis. Maybe it will, but I think overall it's going to hurt Newsom, and that's really good in my book.
Yeah, I just worry because Newsom is very good at speaking. I think that the facts speak for themselves, and I'm a big fan, obviously, of Governor Ron DeSantis. I'm just wondering how this is going to play out because, as we know, Newsom is probably a little bit more charismatic than Ron DeSantis. So sometimes the facts don't matter when it's a personality contest. And as much as I like Ron, and I think he's a great charismatic guy, I'm worried that an audience is going to listen to Newsom and his lies are going to take shape and take hold. But I want to just, before I let you go, address that last part, the Vivek climbing in the polls. I think it's Nikki Haley more so that's climbing in the polls, which terrifies me. But I'm wondering, though, it feels like everything's staying stagnant as far as the polls go. Trump still seems like he's at about 47%, DeSantis at about 17%, then Nikki Haley, then Vivek, and then the rest of them don't really matter at this point. But I'm wondering if you believe that Donald Trump has as commanding of a lead as it would appear in the polls. I'm skeptical. I'm very skeptical of the polls.
Well, I'm always skeptical of polls too, right? I mean, so many of the polls get it absolutely wrong, and they're just trying to sway the minds of the American people so that they can kind of prop up who they want or defeat those that may vote for Trump, but he's not going to win. So I'm very skeptical of the polls as well. What I will say is I do feel that during this holiday season, there's been a little bit of the gas is, pedals take off the gas. Overall, I think for politics and for the individuals running for president. But I think that once we get into 2024, I know the Trump campaign is going to ramp some things up. And I think that the base of voters for President Donald Trump is stronger than ever. All of these asinine, completely fabricated charges that they're throwing at this man, all the way to treason, which carries the death penalty, that is riling up his base like nothing else. And it's riling up people that didn't want to vote for Trump, but they're like, if they're so against this man getting back in office, like Hillary said at one point, we're all going to hang if he gets in office. I think this time around, which is why I'm so for President Trump getting a second term, finishing what he started. Now he knows better than ever exactly what he's up against in the swamp I believe him getting in there will be able to bring some serious reconstructive change that's much needed in DC. So I think in 2024, we're going to see the Trump campaign and his supporters just start to just shoot off to the moon. It's going to be off to the races, and we want to have legal and honest and ethical elections. And if we do, I believe it'll be an absolute landslide for my man, President Donald J. Trump.
I hope you're right. I like the optimism. I don't share as much optimism as you have, but I'm hoping to get it this holiday season. And I hope you're right, because we can't withstand another Biden presidency, Harris presidency, Newsom presidency, Michelle Obama presidency. I mean, pick a Democrat. We can't withstand any of it. David Harris Jr., thank you so much for spending the time with me today, and I'll talk to you very soon.
Thanks, Tomi. Always a pleasure.
All right. A young Kansas City Chiefs fan was raked over the coals by a Deadspin writer who falsely claimed the young boy was wearing blackface at a game. And oh, I have some final thoughts. Folks, you would have thought after a multi-million-dollar lawsuit from Nick Sandmann, a.k.a. the Covington Catholic student who was railroaded by the mainstream media for literally standing and smiling, that said mainstream media would have learned a lesson. But nope. If there is a white male that can be defamed, slandered, or canceled regardless of the merit or truth of the accusations, well, members of the activist media will find that white male and go to town. And that's exactly what happened to this young Kansas City Chiefs fan after Deadspin senior writer Karin J. Phillips published a hit piece on the boy for supposedly wearing blackface to the game. The headline of the article: the NFL needs to speak out against the Kansas City Chiefs fan in blackface native headdress. The article also included this one-sided and deceptively skewed photo of the boy to prove the point that this kid is a racist, flagrantly parading around his racism at an NFL game. Damn, and it looks bad, doesn't it? Unless you provide just the tiniest amount of truth and context and show the whole damn photo of the little boy whose face is indeed painted black, but half black, not to promote racism, but as a part of the red and black colors of the flippin' Kansas City Chiefs. Furthermore, according to the boy's mother, he is of Native American descent. Oh. So was this an honest mistake by Deadspin writer Karin J. Phillips? Or was this just a sick and underhanded ruse to get clicks and ruin this young boy's life for no freaking reason at all? Well, I'm going to go with the latter, given Phillips doubled down with this post on X. That tweet is now deleted, but the damage is already done. These race hustlers are shameless. They are vultures and leeches and a disgrace to journalism. They are so hungry to find racism, they will literally create it where it doesn't exist. The demand for racism is far outpacing the supply. And this Deadspin writer most definitely deserves the Nick Sandmann treatment. The family of the boy he threw under the bus should sue him and the outlet into outer space. If you try to cancel someone and you have to lie and deceive and manipulate your way to it, you should be the one canceled. Rip so-called sports journalism. What a joke. Those are my final thoughts from Nashville. God bless and take care.